Hello, world. Welcome to episode 23 of building the podcast monitor app. Last time we finished up with the feed parser and merged it all in, cleaning up the commits for that. And now we're going to move on to the next deliverable, which will be creating the unit test runner. For this one, I'm not going to create any explicit tasks or do it on a separate branch because there's really only two major steps that I'm going to kind of do here. The first one is going to be moving all of the stubs the tests and the stub and stuff into a separate directory, and then creating kind of a basic script that will run all of the tests or all of the unit tests or all the functional tests, depending on kind of what we want. So if we just want to run all the unit tests real quick, we can do that. If we want to run all the tests, including the functional ones, which kind of make other calls and stuff, we can kind of do that too. So with that, let's get started. And the first thing we're actually going to want to do is we're going to want to run all of these tests. So let's dir test.py. All right, so there's 6 tests that we have here, which looks like it checks out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so let's just run them all real quick and make sure that everything passes. That way we know everything will be good for when we move it all. So we got 12 tests there. The metadata, another 7. Feed parser, just 1. Feed, I spelled Python. Uh, 8, so what are we at there? 28? Some more before this 12? No, so yeah, that was 19, 20, 28. And then what else do we have? RSS parser. So 35. And RSS requester. And this is the functional. So we have 35 unit tests and 3 functional tests for a total of 38 tests. And all of them pass. So first step for that is good. Now let's move all of these. Let's create a tests directory, and we're going to select all 6 of these. And we're also going to move the... Do I want to move the stub in there? It's only used for tests, but it kind of links more to the interface. And if we're not breaking up those, I'm not going to move those. So I'll leave all those there. So let's move tests into here. So we just have episode feed metadata parser, right? And so it would make sense. Like eventually we would delete this. Something like feeds, we might move into a data. We might separate more of these into kind of other structures and stuff. But this is a pretty good structure, especially with these kind of logo, data. This is a JSON file, and this is the data. Like all these Python files are our classes. The requirements is a specific individual file. VBranch is kind of that helper script, right? So everything that's not, right? So it's only really these 2 classes that aren't directly used, and that's because this is an interface and this is the stub, right? And so everything else that's a Python file minus the prototype, which we can delete. We can probably delete it now, actually. But I'm going to leave that for now. I'll clean it up later. Is there, and then all the tests and stuff are here. So the first thing is these tests will now fail, right? So if I want to rerun one, I want to run Python tests episode, right? The first thing you notice is that no module named episode is there. And so if we go to this, right, we're importing episodes. So here we're importing just random things. Here's where we're starting importing episode. If you look at all these other ones, right? If you look at feed, if we do Python tests feed, you see that again, it's the episode. This is the first thing that we import. So after we have, and this is kind of why I separated them this way, because, right, you have the unit test specific, you have things that are used, modules that we use for the test, modules that we use that are ours for the test, and then the module we're testing, right? And so anything that's in these lower two sections, we can't import from here because Python can't find it, right? If we were, because it's not in the same kind of directory. So if we would have to kind of, you know, move it back and stuff. And so the way that I like to do this is to essentially do, so come down here. And so the other thing we're going to have to do is going to have to go import sys, right? I guess we do, well, let's start with that. Import sys. And then we'd have to go sys.path and append, so the sys path, right? System path. And that's by updating the system path, by appending on a specific kind of location, we're able to look for this episode, right? So right now the sys path is just the local path here. And so we want to include this here. And so the other thing we're going to need to do is import, or I guess we'll do from OS, which I think is os.path, import dir name, and parser. So this is dir name. So here we're going to say, we're going to append, oh, and then we also want join, and we'll also want, we don't need it, but we'll also do AppsPath. So here, right, we're going to do AppsPath, join, dir name, file, parent directory. Okay, so if we run this now, it should work. You see all tests pass. Now, just to kind of illuminate what's going on here, let's print these out. So let's print out, first we'll print out file, and then we'll print out dir name file, and then we'll print out this join, and then why don't we also, and we'll print out the apps path. All right, so let's run that again. And so you'll see, so this first one here is the location of the file, which is good because no matter, like there's a type of thing where you can also get, if you don't use file, if you use some other things, you can end up getting like the location that I run it from. So this is not going to change, right? This is the absolute path of the file. And that's not going to change no matter where I call it from. So if I cd into tests and I run this again, oops, no. If I run it again, right, this doesn't change. In fact, none of these things change. I'm just going to cd back and run this one. So here, right, you get the absolute path to this file. Then we're calling the dir name on it. What does it do? It just removes this episode unit test. So it just has this full path here to the directory that it's sitting in. Now the directory that we want is actually the root directory, which is one directory up from tests, right? So we actually want this podcast monitor directory. So what do? We join it. We join that with pardir, which is parent directory, right? And that's this thing I literally just did here. So here I'm cding into the parent directory, and then so I end up back in podcast monitor instead of being in tests. So, and that's what this dot dot is here. So basically this dot dot erases this. And so by surrounding that in abs path, I actually just kind of am cleaning it up. So I don't, need this apps path because all it does is it basically resolves the fact that this cancels out this and gives me this path here, right? So for example, I could remove this and run it again, and everything still passes. So that's all I did there, and this was what I kind of did here. So that was very useful, right? And so now I'm going to be using this for every other test. Every other test needs to kind of get into this sort of root dir. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another folder. I'm going to call it utils. And in here, I'm going to create two files. I'm going to call this one paths.py. And then I'm going to create another, or I guess I didn't create it. And then I'm going to create another one, ensure import. And so in here, I'm going to take this. So I'm going to take this, what I have here. And in here, I want to basically create that path. And, so in the future, right, maybe I'm going to have, for example, the test data in the stub is in here, but this could theoretically be in a resource folder. And so maybe I want paths to that. In this case, I really just want the root path, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a root paths enum. And so I'm going to need to import enum. Which again, a lot of this isn't necessary. I could just create it as a constant, but this is just kind of going to be a little cleaner and more extensible in the future, and it's just something I'd like to do for really all the projects. So the project root is going to be basically what we did here, right? So we're going to take this part, and now we've saved it as this here, and then that means we need all of these, but we don't need sys because we're getting rid of this sys path, so we don't need these, and that is everything we need for this paths, right? So now what ensure import is going to do is it's basically going to import. So let's come back over here. I'm going to copy this again. We're going to come over to ensure import. We're going to paste this in. And then the other thing we need to paste is from paths import root paths. And then here we're just going to create a method, ensure import, that's basically going to do this. And so we still need the sys here, but we're just going to append to this root paths dot project root dot value. And we get rid of that now, and that's all we need there. So now we can come in here and we can change this to be from utils dot, I think this is utils. I just have it's gonna be utils dot ensure import import ensure import, and then we're just gonna run ensure import here. All right, and so what that'll do, and I think there's gonna be an issue here we're gonna have to resolve. So let's just run it and just get to it, right? So here, no modules path, and the reason for that is because, and we created, okay, I'll check that out. I want to make sure this py cache is good. It should be good because it should be the git ignore, that should take care of it, so we'll see. And so this is because this wants the utils, right? And so this is that kind of weird thing where these are in the same, right? And so I can find this, but because then I'm calling it from outside, it can't find that. However, if I were to come in here and go tests, utils, and then run, I think if I run Python episode, okay, no, it still can't find it because it's outside of it. So this is still going to be, so this is going to be utils dot paths. Oh, I need to fix the root path because now I'm one directory further, so I need to append another parter here because the dir name of this is utils, parent is tests, and then I want the parent, which is the root. So I gotta fix that. Now if I run it, now it passes. Now if I cd back out, right, I'm in tests, I run Python episode unit test, still passes. Python tests, episode unit test, still passes. Cool. And so, I mean, I could combine these together, right? Because, and I could like move this out, right? So it's just kind of one. But I'm going to leave it like this. Utils ensure import. I think that's kind of clean enough. And then in here, utils.path, it's still the, now I feel like, yeah, it's just because since it's being called from outside. I mean, I feel like that's why like it might be nice to kind of just move the path into here, or move this path into here, even if it's not in this. But I'm gonna leave this for now. I might change my mind later. And then we just need to come in and add this in here. And in here, in here, in here, and right here. All right, cool. So now let's go to tests. I'm gonna run Python episode, Python feed metadata, Python feed parser, Python RSS, and requester. Cool. So everything passed, everything runs again. And so now we'll do git add. Check this out, get status. I need a cd back here. I'm going to do git add like that. So now we have renames for all these files, which is just the location difference, and then 2 new files. And so we'll go git commit -m, and we'll say created tests and moved all tests under new tests and fixed imports. All right, so now the kind of last thing we're going to do here is we're going to create a test suite to run all this stuff. So I'm going to create in here a new file, call it test suite all. Spelled that right? Yes. And we're going to need to do from unit test classes I just have 2 examples here where I did it slightly differently. And I'm just gonna follow the one I have over here. Just make a note of that. Alright. So from unit tests, we're going to import make suite, test suite, and text test runner. Spell this right. And then we're going to create the class test suite all, test suite, or def init here. I'm not going to pass it anything. I'm going to get rid of this because I don't typically do those. I'm going to call super self that's fine. And now we're going to say, so from episode unit test, import episode test. And we need to create 6 of these. And we need feed unit test, feed metadata unit test, RSS, oh no, I want feed parser, RSS parser unit test, and then RSS requester functional test. Here we have feed test, feed metadata test, feed parser, RSS parser test, and RSS requester ftest. Cool. Alright, and now we're going to say suites. It's a list. Copy this, paste this down here. Date. Commas to everything, and then we'll say for. Oh, did I call them? This isn't suites. Test suite all. Test suite. I'm gonna call these classes. Test classes. For class in test classes, self.add test, make suite class. And then if this is, and then down here we'll say if name equals main text test runner, verbosity is 2. Dot run test suite all. Okay, and that should do it. So now we'll say Python test suite all. Oh. I was wondering why it was kind of weird to start with. Okay, so it ran all 37 tests, which is what we said we had. 35. Wait, that was 30. That was 35 plus. Do we have them all in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I thought it was 38 tests. All right, so we have 12, 8, that's 10, 17, or no, 12 and 8's 20, 17, 18, 25, 28. So it should be 20 or 38. So it should be 38. Why do we only have 37 that are run? That is weird. And the only one that has one, which was the one that has one, this one, feed parser. Do we not import that? We did. Feed parser. Okay. Well, all of them passed, but let's check this out. So we have episode. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Feed. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the reason I said the verbosity is 2 is because it gives this, it's like, this is the test name and it says it passed. Which is, so it's just, when I run it, it'll just run every test, right? So which one didn't it run? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. RSS. Okay, so yeah, the feed parser is not in there. RSS parser. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 3 from here. So why is the feed parser test not being run? It's got its unit test case, matches up unit test case. Oh, that's why. I need to do from feed parser unit test, import feed parser test, and fix that. Now if I run it, all 30 tests pass. Takes that amount of time. So the last thing I want to do is I want to kind of split out the, I want to do, add an arg parser to split out, now because this isn't like a traditional unit test, I'm not going to do that same sort of ordering, right? I'm going to do right. So like in here, you know, when I'm just importing things, I'm importing my things and their things. So in this case, everything's their things. So I'm going to import from argparse, import argument parser, and that's all I care about for now. And then so in here, I'm going to go, before I run that, I'm going to say parser equals argument parser, description, spelled that wrong, description equals run all tests for monitor. Parser.add argument. I'm going to say unit tests only -u action store equal ut like that. And and then here we'll say functional tests only, dash F, only FTs, and then we'll say, we'll do args dot, or args equal parser dot parse args. And then in here, we'll say, so here, let me just go print, cancel this out for a second. Just gonna print args, which I think we'll just print the, okay, so it does do that. So now, and then I can do only UTs, args dot only FTs. And then if I pass it dash U, wait, usage. Expected one argument. Oh, I don't think I want store. I want, what is it for the Boolean one? Alright, let me switch over real quick, and then we'll finish this up. So we'll say Python argparse. Oh, store true is what it was. Yeah, it's a store true. All right, so let's switch back over. And so I don't want store, I want store true. Store true. Now let's run it. All right, so we got false. So we look at the help, right? And then we could also add, if we wanted to, help to this. So we could say help only run UTs. Help only run FTs. All right, and then if we do dash F, U, right, and so they're all, regardless of what we put, and so regardless of what we put, we do get a true or false. So we can pass in to here, we can pass in only UTs, only FTs. Open this up, test suite all, args dot only UTs, args dot only FTs, bool, get this print. And now in here, basically the main thing we want to do is we want to kind of define them, and we could do it, so we could do it in multiple ways, right? We could do it in a, we could do it, you know, write as some sort of tuple. I think the easiest thing to do is just go unit test classes and then functional test classes. And the only one is the requester, the RSS requester. And then we'll say okay, hold on, wait a minute. So if we pass in okay, so if not only FTs, then run the class for unit test classes. If not only UTs. And the reason I'm doing this is because since we're passing in, right, so we're passing in a dash U. So if it's unit tests only, we're passing in dash U, which is only UTs is true. So if this is true, we only want to run UTs, well then we don't want to run functional tests here, right? And so the other thing to do would be to say, right, like, is we could, and if we had more types of tests, we'd want to do it that way, where we'd say, oh, right, dash U is run unit test, dash F is run that. If nothing, then run all tests, right? Because then we could say, like, let's say there's another type of, like, let's say there was another type of test. Then if we wanted to run just these two, we'd do dash U dash F, and it would run both of those, but it wouldn't run the third type. In this case, we don't really support that, but I think that's fine how that is. So now let us run this. So if we run all the tests, it takes about a second to about half a second, 0.6, and we're running 38 tests. Now if we run just the functional tests, it just runs 3, but it still takes about half a second to 0.6-ish. And if we just want to run all the UTs real quick, boom, takes no time at all, runs 35 tests. So that is perfect. So let's see what we got here. Get status. Add. Say. And actually, I'm also going to close this out. So now we can, right? So now we can basically run. Anytime we want to run all of the unit tests or all of the tests. So if we're working on something, and we just want to run all the tests. If we're doing a refactor, just want to run all the tests, or we're making other changes to code and stuff, and we just want to run all the tests to make sure that anything, especially if we have kind of like integration tests, that could be another type, and then we would do stuff with. Then we want to make sure everything's still working, right? Just takes one thing, everything runs, takes a second or half a second, and we're good to go. So I'm gonna mark this complete because we finished that. I'm gonna add that in too, and then I'm just gonna say git commit completed test suite all runner. Okay, and then we're gonna go git tag episode 23. All right, that is perfect there. We've now completed the unit test runner, and we can move on to the filter portion, which is kind of like adding essentially like kind of some feature logic to it, where we will go ahead and we'll say, right, like we want to get all episodes for like all of today's episodes for for all the podcast, right, or all of the sub feed episodes, right? And we'll add kind of functionality for that. That'll kind of filter everything, and we'll use, right, all the stuff that we've now been constructing to kind of do that. And yeah, I mean, I guess we'll be able to do tests for that because we have all the stubs out to do, right? We have the stubs out to do the feed unit test. No, not the feed unit test. The feed parser unit test, right? So we can literally go ahead and this is the information we get back, and so we'll be able to apply a filter and verify that the episodes we get back are the ones that we're kind of filtering. So it would be very easy to test because everything is already kind of set up to do so. We don't need to create a fake for this one because we can just use the stub RSS requester again. So next time we will create a branch and start some episode filtering and get down to kind of the core of what we want to do here now that we have all this stuff built up nicely. And then we'll be able to, work on tweeting it out. So, till next time, see ya.